I thought this was just gonna be a family dinner. But the second I stepped into this restaurant, I got hit with a wave of memories. 2 years ago, I got married here, same place, same lawn, same feeling in the air, and just like that, I was right back in one of the biggest days of my life. Hi, I'm Yo-Yo. I live in a small city in China, and tonight my cousin invited our whole family out for dinner. When my wife gave birth, we couldn't make it to his wedding, so he wanted to make it up to us by treating everyone to a big meal at the same restaurant where he got married. To keep our baby happy during the ride, my wife bought her favorite steamed buns and gave her little bites along the way like snacks. The new year had just passed, and the whole street was still glowing with that festive holiday feeling, with colorful lights everywhere. We chatted and laughed in the car, and before we knew it, we had arrived at the restaurant. This was actually the same place where I got married. Inside, there's a huge lawn, and since we both loved the idea of a long wedding, we chose this place. While we were waiting for everyone else to arrive, we accidentally wandered over to the exact spot where we got married. Even though it's been 2 years, everything still feels so vivid. It was such a beautiful memory. But here's the thing, this place means something to me too. A few years ago, this was where I married my wife, so on the way there, everyone was chatting, joking around, and having a good time. It felt like just another family gathering. But the moment we arrived, it didn't feel ordinary anymore. This restaurant has a huge lawn, which is pretty rare where we live. Northern China is dry, and real green grass like this is kind of a luxury. My wife always loved the idea of a long wedding, so when we got married, we chose this place. Before all the relatives arrived, my wife and I wandered over to the exact spot where we said our vows. And man, that feeling was hard to explain. Even though it's already been 2 years, standing there again made it feel like it all happened yesterday. In China, people sometimes say there are 3 biggest joys in life. One of them is your wedding day. And honestly, I get it. A wedding here is not just about 2 people falling in love. It's family, tradition, noise, pressure, luck, ritual, emotion. The whole thing is a big deal. My wife and I were introduced by friends, but we came from completely different ends of China. My hometown is way up in the north, and hers is down in the south, almost 950 miles away. That's a long way, but after spending time together, we both felt like this just worked. We got along naturally. We understood each other, and little by little, we built this warm little family together. My wife is super cheerful, outgoing, and full of energy. Me, I'm more quiet, kind of reserved. My mom always says we balance each other out perfectly. One nod, one calm. And maybe she's right. Standing there on that lawn, all those wedding memories started coming back one by one. In China, a wedding day usually starts early, really early. By tradition, the groom doesn't just show up. He has to organize a whole car convoy, bring gifts, and go pick up the bride from her family's home. Before I left that morning, my parents gave me one very serious instruction. Bring your wife home safe. Behind me were all my relatives, helping carry gifts like snacks, cigarettes, and alcohol. Everybody had a job. Everybody was in on it.
Picture it now, down the road. Oh, just say the word and I'll go. Oh, you are the one I care for. Remember the night we slept on the roof. I want to cover my skin with the sun-kissed light. There's a bonfire burning tonight. We could be alright.
And I was nervous as hell. When we got to my wife's place, the first challenge was something called blocking the door. This is a super common Chinese wedding tradition. The bride's family and friends literally block the entrance and refuse to let the groom in. If you want your bride, you gotta earn it. That usually means handing out red envelopes full of cash, tossing out a little road money, and begging your way through with a smile. Don't worry, I came prepared. My pockets were packed with red envelopes, but apparently, money alone was not enough. In the end, my younger brother basically used brute force and helped push the door open. Not exactly elegant, but hey, it worked. This time, it was guarded by my wife's older sister. My wife was inside, asking me questions about our future life together, and I had to answer them right or I wasn't getting in. Luckily, we were on the same wavelength, so I made it through. But even then, I still wasn't done. There were games. A lot of games. One of them involved passing the stick from person to person using only your lips. No hands. Everyone was laughing like crazy, especially my wife. There were also hook games, push UPS, and all kinds of silly challenges.
我跟你们说一下游戏规则啊。套到10个才算过关啊。每一个里面，它这里面有一个可能是
腿。
你看叔叔的。
好洗
好。哎呀！
放过来就好。来来，
往前点，往前点。
你有个爱车，你来。
对不对？哎呦！
不能碰到这个，碰到这个吃掉。不能碰到。
啊，好。
这是啥？
这个10个俯卧撑习题，来。
这是咱们军人了。他也行，这是军人。是吧？4个多标准。
That's the thing about Chinese weddings. They're emotional, but they're also loud and playful. People don't want it to feel too easy. The groom has to work for it a little. Only then can you finally take your bride.
是不是特宝贝？
大声一点。两个手吧。
给红包。
可以，对。
把这个给。
谢谢。
来，给发红包。
谢谢小姨夫。
我跟他一块走。
好。
你们就带上吧。
对，让我带一下。
After that, my sister and brother-in-law helped us pin on our wedding flowers.
对。
Then came one of the most important moments of the day, serving tea to my wife's mother. That moment matters a lot. I knelt down, offered the tea, and called her mom. That's called changing the way you address your in-laws. In China, that moment is official. And usually, it comes with something called Geico fee, basically money the parents give you when you change from auntie to mom, or from uncle to dad. My mother-in-law gave us around $1,500. To be honest, Chinese weddings have a lot of rules. Even I don't fully understand all of them. Sometimes you just follow the tradition because that's what everyone does. But maybe that's the point. Maybe all these complicated rituals exist to remind you that happiness is not something to take for granted. Then came another classic part, carrying my wife out of her parents' home. I had to carry her all the way to the car, which symbolizes bringing her into a new chapter of life and taking her home.
被子铺好，坐被子上，被子铺开给他，被子铺开。行，好，就这样，好，让他吃。快包不住了，
学长。
大喊2声，
爸妈，媳妇儿娶回来了。
好。
When we arrived at my parents' house, there was one line I absolutely had to shout before getting out of the car. Mom, Dad, I brought your daughter-in-law home. And right outside the gate, all the relatives were waiting. Some people were setting off firecrackers. Some were throwing flower petals. It was loud, chaotic, and kind of amazing.
对，哎 呀，坚持不住了。辛苦啊！
儿媳妇儿。
Once we got inside, my mom handed my wife a bowl of sweet water to drink. That symbolizes a sweet life ahead.
祝福我儿子儿媳妇儿生活甜甜蜜蜜，幸福幸福美满。对，端到面前来，然后我先洗是吧？对，说一句话。
Then there was hand washing, and then long noodles, which symbolize a long-lasting marriage.
谢谢马宝宝。
哎呀，大姨特别高兴，还是喜日子啊！大姨祝福你们圆圆满满，幸福一辈子啊！
谢谢大姨。
啊，俩人把这个都吃了啊！哎呀，还没有开口，他没开口。啊，对啊。好这是不是完事儿拍了？好，你为新郎吃一口。没事没事没事。
那个你们俩的任务，哎，你们是不是跟那哥们儿在一起唠嗑？
不用不用不用，他这。
然后我们就吃完就。
改口仪式将要隆重的举行啊，好吧？我跟新娘子，哎，可以在这儿，对。
爸爸请喝茶。
声音不够洪亮啊，你爸姓田，大声说。
田妈妈请喝茶。
好，谢谢啊。
说两放。
你喝了谁啊？
行，我先说两句。那个。
After that came another tea ceremony, this time for my parents. That was the moment my wife changed from calling them uncle and auntie to mom and dad. My father gave us some advice, some money, and then everybody hugged.
儿媳妇敬的茶香不香？
不错，不错，不错。
庄重的敬了一杯茶，对，
田妈妈喝茶。祝您生活幸福美满。谢谢妈妈。
田妈妈高兴了，全喝了。红包拿来。他不走就等红包了，红包新娘绝对收下来。一鞠躬，感谢父母养育之恩。好，起。二鞠躬，感谢父母教诲之情。好，起。三鞠躬，承诺永结同心，永远孝敬双方的老人双亲。好，起。好。
And that was the moment it really hit me. We were not just dating anymore. We were not just a couple. We were family.
坐直一点点，来3、2。
When it snows, I'd like to see it land upon your wrinkled nose. I'll notice how your cheeks turn the shade of a rose.
When it snows, I'll reach into the pocket of your winter coat, and there I'd find my favorite hand to hold. Through winter snow, under the mistletoe, I'll learn to love you more and more. Come summertime, under a sunny sky, I hope that you will still be mine. When it snows, we'll leave our footprints on the way to your front door. cozy up to the fire to stay warm.
When it snows, we'll make some tea or share a glass of honey whiskey.
Honey,
Here's to looking at you and me.
1, 2, 3.
Through winter snow, under the mistletoe.
After the ceremonies at home, we came to the restaurant. We had spent a long time choosing this place. Like I said, lawns are rare here, and my wife really wanted that outdoor wedding feeling. The night before, we had already come over to set up the chairs and the backdrop.
上的那件嫁衣将要来捡拾田宇曾为他许下的诺言，他正在往过走。朋友们，我们欢迎雷兰回家。
Then the guests started arriving, and the ceremony officially began. We stood on the lawn, made our vows, confessed our love, and exchanged rings. I'm not even gonna lie, I got emotional. Really emotional.
此刻无需多言，对吗？你们知道的，单膝跪地也是一个男人一生的。各位，掌声欢迎，祝福他们，有请。
亲友远道而来，见证我们的爱情，也曾在我们的成长道路上给我们帮助，感谢你们。我想对我老公说，我们虽然每天都在一起有聊不完的话题，但是接下来的对白你得好好听，用心去感受。
老婆，今天真的很开心，我们从开始走到现在，感谢你一直陪伴着我。
There were moments when I was so choked up I could barely speak. The outdoor ceremony lasted about half an hour. After that, we took photos and released balloons. Then everyone moved inside for the banquet.
谢谢大家，婚礼需要见证，祝福爱情长久。在这里衷心的感谢新婚百年。最后我们放飞气球，祝他们早生。 谢谢大家，婚礼有了这张照片才算圆满。好，各位可以回到宴会厅当中，我们第2场仪式要开始了。如果想要和
Where I'm from, there's another interesting custom. My father's friends came up on stage to help greet and thank the guests. My dad had 6 old friends doing the hosting. They welcomed relatives who had traveled from far away and helped keep the whole event lively. Then it was our turn. My wife was wearing a white wedding dress, and she looked absolutely beautiful.
所以2人来到舞台上的第一时间，首先要鞠躬感谢大家，感谢各位满怀热忱，如约而至，谢谢各位。刚才在草地。
My parents and her parents joined us on stage. Everyone raised their glasses and thanked the friends and relatives who came to celebrate with us.
首先要向我们会邀请在座的每位贵宾共饮领酒，邀请大家一同庆祝。请您斟满面前这一杯表达祝福的喜酒，各位，让我们一起举起手中的酒杯。正所谓举杯敬酒，情意才浓。
At the very end, I gave the bouquet to my younger brother. He was the only one in the family who wasn't married yet, so we all joked that maybe he'd be next. The wedding ended with one huge group photo. Sometimes it's weird. It really feels like that day was just yesterday. And now, somehow, 2 years have already passed. We have a baby now. Time moves fast. By the time I came back to the present, tonight's dinner had already started. All the relatives were in the private room, ordering food and catching up.
来，宝宝。别管。
自己拿。
My cousin really went all out for us. He ordered abalone, which is not something we eat often in an inland northern city like ours. He also ordered lobster and a bunch of other expensive dishes we would normally never buy. Honestly,
就这儿。
this dinner probably cost him a whole month's salary. I felt really grateful.
胡椒配牛肉好吃，麻条有黑胡椒吗？有胡椒。有。你们哥，你们吃啥？因为你们是消费主义者。真的。是以前大棚，就跟那猪摊位。谁让你让他自己拿馒头？不是，他们叫我们吃饭，一去那个厂，就是吃东东人家涮羊肉嘛。
Our baby was being super good tonight too. She was happily eating steamed bun and even shared some with her little cousin. Seeing the two girls together was just adorable.
给姐姐吃。
啊，给姐姐了！哎呀，你好棒呀！
都要多7、8十。
At the table, everybody was laughing, talking, and teasing each other. It almost felt like another wedding banquet all over again.
1个亿都没有60来页的合同。
小象。
谁挺往里炫谁？
你拿的啥呀？谁跟你对象呀？你的？哦，你是不是觉得这样很好？
By the end of the night, we went home full, tired, and happy. And for me, this dinner ended up meaning way more than I expected. It brought back the day I got married. It reminded me how much love and effort goes into building a family. And it reminded me that the most important things in life are usually the easiest to overlook when you're busy, the people beside you, the memories you made together, and the home you built little by little. Every part of tonight made me want to hold those things a little tighter. So yeah, this wasn't just dinner. It was a memory, a reunion, a reminder. What about you? What was your wedding like? Or if you're not married, what's one family tradition you'll never forget? Let me know in the comments. I'm Yo-Yo. See you next time.